Hello everyone and welcome. In this video, we are finally diving into one of the most exciting parts of CAD 3D modeling, and this is where we start turning ideas into actual 3D parts. And I know for many of you, this is what you've been looking forward to the most, because up until now, we have covered sketching tools and techniques in detail. Now it's time to move on and explore how those sketches become full 3D objects. And so when you switch to the 3D modeling mode, you'll notice that there's a familiar layout. You'll still see menus like Create and Modify, and now you have access to tools specifically for building and manipulating 3D geometry. And in this video, we'll focus on the core features available in 3D modeling workspace and walk through them step by step with examples. So let's begin by creating a sketch on the XY plane and choose the two-point center rectangle and draw a rectangle using the origin point. And let's dimension it. And let's say this is 100 millimeter long and 80 millimeters high. Once you finish the sketch, notice that in the browser on the left side under the sketch one, it is recorded in the history of the part. Autodesk Inventor is a history-based CAD software, meaning every action you take is recorded in the model tree. This is extremely useful for tracking and modifying your design process. So let's apply an extrusion to the sketch now. Click on extrusion, and let's say it is a 50 millimeters of an extrusion. After applying it, you'll see that sketch 1 disappears from the view tree and now consumed by extrusion 1. You can see it by expanding extrusion 1. That's because extrusion is a sketch-based feature. It requires an underlying sketch to be applied. If you click on sketch 1, you'll see the original sketch and its dimensions. Clicking on extrusion 1 will show you the 3D feature generated from that sketch. Because like I said, extrusion 1 is a modeling action that requires a sketch. It is a sketch-based feature. So now let's add another sketch, this time on top of the face of the extrusion. So now again, use the center point to draw a circle. Let's say this one is 50 millimeters in diameter. Finish the sketch, and you'll see that sketch 2 appear in the browser. Now extrude the circle upward by 20 millimeters, and you can change these dimensions if you would like to, if you want to modify the design a little bit. And this will create extrusion 2, which now consumes sketch 2. Let's apply some chamfers and fillets. Chamfers and fillets are placed features, which is the second type that we're going to cover in this video, which means that they don't require a sketch. And we're going to talk about the chamfers and fillets in more detail on the following videos. But for now, let's just place some chamfers and fillets. Let's call this 10 millimeters and apply. And then let's apply a fillet, maybe here. Let's call that 10 millimeters as well. Done. You'll notice that unlike sketch-based features, these don't have a drop-down arrow in the browser. These because they don't consume a sketch. They don't require a sketch. They're just placed features. Another feature that we're going to cover in the future video is the hole feature, but I want to talk about it briefly in this video because hole feature is a different type of feature when we try to categorize what kind of tool it is in the browser tree. Let's click on hole and select the top surface. And we don't have to change anything in the hole menu. We're going to talk about this in more detail later. Let's just use the default settings right now. And the hole one appears in the browser tree. Now, this is also a placed feature. As you can tell, I just clicked on the feature and I placed it on the design, but it automatically generates a sketch behind the scenes. So I can click on the plus sign and notice that there's a sketch 3 generated for this hole 1. So if you double click on the generated sketch, you'll see that it's not fully defined because we just placed it there. So I can just drag it and drop on the mid origin point, and that should just fully define it. And it automatically updates it the moment I clicked on finish the sketch. So to summarize, we created a sketch 1 and used extrusion 1 to build that base. And then we created a sketch 2 and now on a new face and applied extrusion 2. And then we placed chamfer 1 and fillet 1 without even needing a sketch. And then we added a whole feature which created its own sketch. All of these are recorded in the model browser, forming a complete feature history that you can go back and modify at any time. To modify a feature, I recommend double-clicking on the icon in the browser, not the text, so you don't accidentally rename it. But if, of course, if you want to rename it, you can just click on the text and rename it the way you like it. For example, double-click extrusion 1 and change the height from maybe 50 millimeters to 80 millimeters. You'll see the model update instantly. The same goes for extrusion 2, chamfers, fillets, and even the hole. Just adjust the parameters and the model adapts accordingly. So for example, let's just change this diameter from 50 to maybe 30. And then you see that the model updated. And maybe the chamfers are 15 millimeter chamfers now. And maybe the fillet is 8 millimeter fillet. Yeah. Another powerful tool is the end of part marker here in the browser. So it indicates the final step of the current design. You can drag it upward to temporarily hide later features and focus on earlier steps. So let's go back to extrusion 1 and we can just analyze this step now, and maybe we can just drag it right after extrusion 2 and we can analyze that step. So if somebody shares a part file with you, and if you want to understand how that person designed that part, and you want to inspect someone else's model, trying to troubleshoot your own, you can always move the marker up and down. You can roll it back and go back to those initial steps in the design and understand how the part was designed, or where you made a mistake, or what you need to modify in the design. So as we continue through the series, we'll start building more complex geometries, exploring new tools, and combining everything we've learned to create realistic 3D parts. If you're enjoying this tutorial, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions or need design help, our contact email is in the video description. Don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to help. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.